Friday is here and NBL Now is here as well to kickstart your weekend, coming off a Thursday night clash too as we start round 5 in the Hungry Jacks NBL. Joel Peterson is here. NBL champion Damon Lowery is with me, bucket hatted as always on a Friday morning. Morning, Damon.
JP, good morning, man. Viernes es aquí. I said Friday is here.
Okay, again, you know that Spanish is not my strong suit. I can tolerate a couple of words, but you sort of get a little bit down into the weeds and I absolutely lose you. So I'm glad the explanation was there. But Friday is here. You were on the call last night of the opener for round 5, Brisbane and New Zealand at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre. The Bullets get it done by 11 in the end. What were your takeaways from that?
I took away that I like Coach Pop. I like Petteri Koppinen, the good cop. Because even in his pregame, when he was talking to Ariana Prather and Derek Rucker, he's like, nobody wants to hear about our travel schedule. Nobody wants to hear that. I just like that already coming from him. Excuses are on the table if he wants to take them, but he doesn't want no parts of it. I respect it. I figured the Breakers would be a little sluggish just cause, right? Just cause. No excuse for losing. I just figured it's going to be sluggish. You can be sluggish and win. They was sluggish and lost. But PJC looked great. It don't matter what country that dude's playing in. But to the Brisbane Bullets, though, they are the masters so far. Maybe not masters. They are very good at winning that grindy, ugly game, Joe. If that scores under 90 points, the Brisbane Bullets, they feel at home. James Bateman, who just welcomed him into the little big man society, he's shooting the lights out. 11 of 17 from the 3-ball. I mean, dude is hotter than leather seats in a black car in the summertime. So it's just good to see Brisbane just playing that kind of methodical, grindy way and eking out wins.
Did you see some positive signs from the Bullets last week, sort of from where they've been? So 2 wins in a row now. Have you seen enough to say, okay, maybe they've turned the corner?
No, I haven't seen enough, Joe, because they beat a Phoenix team, we don't know what's going on over there. And then they beat a New Zealand team who's been to the moon and back. So they're going to need to take a bigger scalp, multiple scalps, before I start to say they've turned the corner. But it's still pleasing from a Brisbane Bullets fans perspective and Justin Shooter's perspective that they can win games.
It's interesting from a Brisbane perspective too. You know, they're not getting a lot of chances at the moment. They just got this run of 8 single headers in a row, so they're not getting the chance to back up. It's a funny little schedule, but you know, they're 2-4 now, so they've got a couple of wins under their belt, and New Zealand get another chance later in the weekend, which we'll talk about. Tonight's game is really interesting. So Tassie and Sydney, it's in Launceston, which is a venue that hasn't been particularly kind to the JackJumpers when they've played up at the Silver Dome. They don't have a terrific record there. I think it's 2-4 since they came into the competition. And they've got all kinds of offensive woes at the moment, the JackJumpers. They're probably the story heading into this one. Where do they find an answer tonight? Where do they find some kind of solution at the offensive end?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Joe. Now, we know I've been a JackJumper fan. I've been a fan of the Jackie way since their inception. But the Jackie way, which is loosely defined as grit and grind, never give up, defend the island, share the ball, all that stuff, right? But they need to tweak. They need to tweak it, Joe, the Jackie way. They need to let Jordan Crawford and Milton Doyle off the leash. Like, I get it. They're selfish. We don't have selfish players in the JackJumpers. And I'm not saying they go 100% selfish. Them two dudes need 20 to 25 shots every single night. It is as simple as that. They don't have enough firepower. And Jack McVay should probably get at least one MVP vote because this is how important that dude is to the team. He's not here, and they can't score. So I need the Jackie way to morph, to tweak a little bit, and let Jordan Crawford and Doyle get really loose.
And the Kings side of it, so coming off a good win after a disappointing performance in the first of a doubleheader last weekend, they looked like they got right against Cairns. Obviously, no Jalen Adams. He's a question mark coming into tonight. How he fits in would obviously be a big boost to Brian Goorjian's team. But what do you expect from Sydney from their side of things?
Sydney's they're going to be always consistent. Like, defensively, they just got guys that just give a damn, Joe. They just got guys that really care. So defense would never be an issue. Offense can sometimes be hit or miss because they love to shoot a bunch of threes. Now, they haven't got hot from three-point line since the blitz. But if they do, it's going to be real ugly. And the JackJumpers are not built for coming back from big deficits. We just saw what happened in Wollongong for the Lowery Hawks. They just couldn't score enough points to keep themselves in the game. And if the Sydney Kings get up and down, even without Jalen Adams, they got enough there. If they get up and down and get that scoreboard into three figures, it's going to be a real tough night for the Jackies.
Who do you think wins it tonight?
Oh, Sydney Kings.
Comfortably?
Sydney Kings. Comfortably.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, but it was interesting calling the game with Liam Santa Maria last week, the Hawks-Tassie game. Before the start of the game, you always expect the JackJumpers to put up a bit of a fight. And he just said to me quietly, I'm not sure this will be all that close. And it turned out to be correct. But I'm sort of hardwired to think that Tassie will be in the battle for a long time. So
we haven't seen a Tassie team since maybe year one. But when Will Magnay goes off the court, that's when the real issues start for the JackJumpers. They don't have that bag up big, and they're going to have to deal with Sydney. They're going to have to deal with the Beast and the Pepe. They're going to have to deal with Cam Oliver and obviously Xavier Cook. So it's going to be tough sledding, I think, tonight.
Yeah, that'll be a terrific game just for the spectacle of seeing how Tassie responded and exactly what Sydney can do on that away floor. So 7:30 Eastern time tonight is that one. Tomorrow night, the Illawarra Hawks juggernaut rolls into Cairns. It heads to far north Queensland. They might be undermanned again, the Snakes, but the Hawks look like they are primed to go up there and put in a good performance. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, they are. But just to the Cairns Taipans, like I said, you can't come there. You cannot show up to the far north with any kind of an attitude problem. Yes, they are undermanned with no Taron Armstrong. And Taron Armstrong is the key to that team. Now, as long as he's out, they are severely compromised. In saying that, the Illawarra Hawks are playing for something they're not playing for respect anymore. They're not playing for anybody's sympathy or anybody's kudos. They are playing for the championship. They're trying to get this monkey off of Damon Lowry's back, Joe. I've been carrying this burden around for 23 years. I'm ready to pass the torch, and the Hawkies are up and about, and this just will be another test along the way to go on the road in a tough place to play, regardless of who lines up, and get the job done. So I'm looking forward to a good, solid performance by the Hawkies and come out with a double-digit win.
The early game that I just skipped over there was New Zealand and Perth. So New Zealand's first home game of the season, in quite some time, in a few weeks since they played South East Melbourne over there. Really, the matchup we all want to see here is Bryce versus Parker Jackson Cartwright. That will be the box office thing that gets people through the door of this one.
Better believe it. The vice president of the Little Big Man Society, Parker Jackson Cartwright, and Bryce is just in his own society. He's a one-man society to himself. Yeah, them two right there are going to get the scoreboard ticking over. First team All-NBL dudes. They're probably going to do it again. So, yeah, that's going to be a good game. But I'm tipping the Breakers in that one, Joe. Now,
right.
I feel like Perth, Bryce's brilliance aside, besides Bryce's brilliance, Keanu Pender, up and down. Dylan Windler, is he playing? Not sure. They got Ty Webster. They just got a little bit of insecurity for mine, inconsistency for mine, to really make me feel confident in them winning. New Zealand, on the other hand, after that sluggish start, that game they had yesterday, I feel like they will just find their way the longer they're here. And they've been back in Australia for a while. So going back home, it's Taco Fall night. He's not even in the team, but it's still Taco Fall night. I feel like the Breakers will get that one done.
It's going to be, that's a big call. Perth, of course, haven't played in a while since they played in Cairns. Early in the last round, they went back to Perth. They're now back to New Zealand. It's this big travel schedule for the Wildcats, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out in that one as well. So that's the early game on a Saturday of hoops. The late game, of course, is that Cairns-Illawarra matchup. Then we head to Sunday, and we get the Throwdown, which has got a big question mark over it in the sense of how does South East Melbourne respond after the week that they've had? What are you expecting from the Phoenix?
That is the only question, because there are no questions with the Melbourne United. we know how they're going to show up. They know who they are. Their identity is firmly in place. Their culture is intact. The South East Melbourne Phoenix now, you are being asked a question. And I love this part, Joe. I love it when your back couldn't be any further against the wall. Now you got two choices. You either pack it up or you stack it up. And I'm looking for the Phoenix, if they got any kind of ticket, which I know them dudes got, and they haven't showed it on a consistent basis, but this is the game. That win that nobody's tipping you, by the way. Outside of family and friends, nobody's tipping you, Phoenix. But you guys got to circle the wagons, band of brothers. You're playing with, I like what Peter Hooley said yesterday, a little bit of guilt because there's blood on your hands. Mike Kelly is now unemployed, and you guys are are part of that reason for that. You owe it to yourselves. You owe it to the Phoenix fans to come out and respond. Not react, Joe, but respond. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And if they can do that, hey, kudos to them.
No, I'm ready to run through a brick wall, and I'm not even playing. So hopefully the Phoenix, if they tune into that, they will be as well. So that's the early game. So 2:30 on Sunday Eastern time, and then Adelaide and Tassie to round things out. And I feel like we'll probably know a little bit more about that after we see Tassie play tonight. Adelaide have been pretty solid, coming off a busy schedule and a performance against Melbourne United that was below where they would want it to be last week. And then Tassie, what we see from them tonight might inform what we think about that game on Sunday. But it won't be an easy trip to go over to Adelaide, Damon. That's becoming a really tough road trip.
It never is. I mean, they're going to pack the place out. 9,000, however many they can squeeze in that joint. Adelaide at home are different. Now, Adelaide can beat you on the road, as we've already seen, that when they went to Wollongong and got a dub. But when they get home, man, it's just something extra spicy about the way they play. DJ gets extra fired up. Trez is already just, he wakes up fired up. And I'm hoping that we can see some Jarrell Martin. Man, I hope he lines up. So, it's going to be a real tough ask going Adelaide and getting that win.
Yeah, so that's the Sunday, the last game in this round 5. Before we head away, a little bit of a gimmick here. What's the big question that you want answered before Sunday night? So what do you want to come away from this round feeling pretty good in your own head that I feel like I'm pretty clear on where this team's at?
Yep. We already pretty clear on maybe the top 3 teams in the league. They kind of already have established themselves. The bottom of the ladder, there's a little bit of movement going on down there. But what's for mine is the New Zealand Breakers. Like, we haven't seen them in a long time. I haven't seen them yesterday. But prior to that, we hadn't seen them in a while. Who are they? Okay, so are they a playoff team? A lot of us so-called experts didn't feature them highly at all in the early season predictions. But in seeing the way they've eked out a couple of wins, they've gone to the States and played some NBA teams, obviously. Didn't do well on the results front, but I think they might have bonded more. They might have came back a tighter unit. I need to know who they are, Joe. Are they a playoff team? And if they knock off Perth and do it in good fashion, I'm leaning towards a playoff team. And I have to readjust, Joe, my top 6.
That would be a good little fill-up for Coach Copp and his squad. For me, it's what's the level of concern on the JackJumpers? So I just don't know whether that game against Lowery was an outlier. Like, obviously, they're not having a great offensive season, but to have that kind of performance, is that an outlier? Or is that the beginning of a real concern about how this team is going? If they get handled by Sydney and Adelaide across the course of the weekend and they still look, frankly, anemic at the offensive end, and Milton Doyle and Jordan Crawford can't get going and we don't get anything much out of Craig Sword, and then you're thinking, okay, what's the fix here? Are there moves to be made? How exactly do they come out of this, the JackJumpers and Scott Roth? Because you sort of back them to do it, given the infrastructure and the success that they've had over the last few years. But I'm probably a little bit unsure about how concerned I am about them right now. The weekend, depending on their results, could either, they're okay, they'll sort it out, or it could be, no, they need to sort it out and quick.
What's the worst DEFCON? Is it 1 or is it 5?
I can never remember. I never remember.
It's 1. If you're at DEFCON 1, the shite has hit the fan. I'm going to say the Jack Jumpers are at DEFCON 3. We're all watching. And if they go 0-2 this round, we're at DEFCON 2.
Yeah, I think you're right. DEFCON 1 apparently signals the impending outbreak of nuclear warfare. So I reckon DEFCON 1's probably the worst.
All righty, we'll see what they do.
I don't think it needs to be quite that serious, though. Damon, good fun as always. Look forward to seeing you across the weekend.
Adios, mi amigo.
Stay away from DEFCON 1. Thanks for your company as well on NBL Now, of course. All the action across the course of the weekend on ESPN and KO, and you can get all the live scores, all the news, all you need to know on the NBL app at nbl.com.au.